community leaders who are here today and those that are coming represent thousands of families in the greater Flatbush community, which, according to the census, is the largest Jewish community in the United States.
It continues to happen. We keep saying over and over again, never again. But it continues to happen.
Look around the room, you see people of all different backgrounds, people of all different walks of life here today to come together in a unified way to talk about the violence that happened yesterday.
This could have been any shul, any church, any mosque, anywhere in this country.
That would put a cop, an armed police officer in front, I'm underlining, in front of every school.
That we are here in the 21st century, 2018 begins 2019, and we're looking at the loss of life in another state. That could happen around the corner, it could happen down the block, it could happen anywhere. And Pittsburgh is a perfect example, is that we do need them. And before it happens again, it's important that we get those armed officers outside of these schools immediately.
The height of hate crime has risen. Yesterday's event took the cake. Hate crimes have been perpetuated. Hate crimes have been coming out in the open.
The controller is in an incredibly important position for our community, and we are incredibly lucky to have, as our controller, Tom DiNapoli.
We have not effectively confronted the issue of anti-Semitism in our nation. We have not effectively confronted the issue of gun violence and guns getting into the wrong hands in our nation.
My condolences to the community regarding yesterday's tragedy. You have every reason to be outraged. Women and children's lives could be at stake.
To strengthen and improve our communities, we have a lot of work to do together to make sure that we are combating the rise of hate in all of its forms. And we've seen, just in the last few weeks, we've seen anti-Semitic attacks in Manhattan Beach and Marine Park.
And to educate young people about the diversity, the tremendous diversity of our city and our country, to try and do what we can to support the families in our community, to try and educate some of our colleagues who don't have yeshivas in their community, or don't.
To overcome the hatred that took place in the Jewish community yesterday. The time for hate is over. Too many people are encouraging it. And if we allow people to continue to encourage separation amongst us, we will never win.
Discrimination, which is on the rise against this community, among others, but particularly among this community. And I have to say that with respect to these killings, I hope that the federal government pursues the full extent of the law.
Just take a look, rabbis of synagogues, yeshivas, organizations, chairman, co-chairman, vice chairman, fantastic work. A community is only as good as the people that are in it, and frankly speaking, we have the finest community in the world.
We should not do it out of fear. We should be able to, in this country, assemble and voice our various opinions to one another. It was a tragedy. Our hearts go out to those families.
We stand shoulder to shoulder against this type of violence.
This is not the first time that Jewish people face such situation of violence and anti-Semitism. I don't believe this is the last time. Violence in our city, in our country. Children were shot playing basketball.
The way that this type of violence and intolerance is going to end, we must be persistent and vigilant with educating our children, because hatred is something that's taught, and we must stand shoulder to shoulder in solidarity.
She put her name on the anti-BDS legislation, and it absolutely needs to get passed.
Those who spread hateful rhetoric, those who try to establish the other in this country, the other in New York City, people who may not look like us, but we should be afraid of. That has got to stop. We have got to stop ripping apart this country at its seams.
Yesterday was another sad day, and when the attacks happened in a place of worship, in a synagogue, we have to call it out whenever and wherever it occurs. I've tried my best to do that. And the reason I say that is that that means we're all in it together.
People gather to celebrate Shabbat, to celebrate a bris, and they're brutally slaughtered. It's important that we work with all levels of government to ensure that our soft targets, our synagogues, our schools, our college campuses are protected against this kind of violence.
There is only one Jewish state, only one Jewish country. And there are still folks, still people, who look to condemn, who look to jeopardize and compromise Israel's safety.
When it comes to hate, when it comes to voting for the right person, there's no such thing as Democrats or Republicans. We need to elect those that not only condemn acts of violence, acts of hate, but those that stand up.
I never thought that in America I will live to the day when being Jewish is also being a target here in America.